This is my video review of 6 different Surface Pro 4 cases. I was generously given these by the respective companies as demo cases for me to allow to decide which one to use for my school for the fall of 2016. As I said, I have 6 total cases, and I'll kind of do a demo walkthrough of installing the cases and show how they fit and things like that, as I think that might be useful in helping others determine which one works for them. I will say up front, this is not necessarily an objective review. It is more subjective in that I chose my favorite based upon what I think will work best for my school and our students. But in this video, it may allow you to decide which one will work best for you, looking at some of the features and drawbacks of each of the devices. So I'll break up the video into a couple chapters, one for each case review, and I'll get started now. This first review is of the Brenthaven BX2 Edge. Brenthaven is kind of new to the protective case game with the Surfaces. They didn't have a Surface Pro 3 case. They just released recently this case for the Surface Pro 4 and actually for the Surface 3, but not the Surface Pro 3. So they've made bags and things like that for many laptops for years, and they're just adding this line of protective cases. I think they're also doing iPad cases now as well. One of my favorite features of this particular case is that it is flexible. It's made out of rubberized plastic that won't crack. One of the issues with previous generation cases on my Surface Pro 3s is that this very thin point where the power cord comes in would crack, and then the case would kind of disintegrate. This case also has kind of a unique feature in that it comes with a tether, and it has 2 mount points for the tether, so that you can give the most leeway for a right or left-handed person, and then it has a place to store the pen and lock it in there. It has holes for the USB and mini display port, vents all around for the cooling, the power and volume, and then the audio connector. So I'm actually going to demo putting this case on and show how easily or not easily it might go on and fit. So we will insert the case in the top here. And as I said, because this case has got some flexibility to it, it's actually relatively easy to get this case to fit on. You then have to get it to fit completely on. So let me get it. Oh, I forgot the one detail. You need to make sure you have the kickstand out when you're putting the case on. So let me flip out the kickstand. These are so there. And you have to slip this underneath the kickstand, and then I will show you one of the drawbacks of this case. One of the biggest drawback, I would say. So I'm going to slide this in, lock it in place. So this case also comes with a kickstand protector cover, and you just slide that on as so, and then the case closes shut. One of the drawbacks of this case is, as you can see right here, there's this protective and covering and also strengthening of the case, but it covers the mini secure mini SD slot that is basically inaccessible while this case is on there. Now, in our school, we don't use the mini SD slot very much, so it's not a big drawback, and the pros of this case outweigh the cons. But if you use the mini SD slot often, this case is probably not going to be for you, because you're going to be constantly taking it on and off. So the last piece I'll demo is actually attaching the keyboard and showing how it can curl over. Because some cases you cannot easily attach the keyboard or use the kickstand appropriately. When the case is on there, this one you definitely can, and then you can have the flexibility to do the full rollover of the case. So that is the Brenthaven BX2 Edge. The next case I will be reviewing is the Griffin Survivor for Surface Pro 4. Now they actually just released this case as well, but they did release a version for the Surface Pro 3, which is basically identical other than the power and audio control buttons because they were moved between the Surface Pro 3 and Pro 4. So this case has some unique features as well. It actually has a screen protector, and this screen protector always has to be on. You have no choice if you're using this case whether that screen protector is on, because the case basically won't stay together if you don't have it there. So I'm going to take the case apart to prepare it to get put on the Surface Pro 4. So you actually pop open some little locking mechanisms on the side. And one of my concerns with this case is how well those locking mechanisms will hold up over time. You know, if people take the case on and off all the time, but there shouldn't really be a reason to take the case on and off. So you'll see here, it is a full coverage back case. So you place the surface in here, and you don't actually even really slide it in, you just kind of set it in place. And then you put the protective covering shield and the rest of the frame back on. If you don't put this on, really the surface won't stay in there. I mean, it'll just fall right out. So this case is useless without putting this other piece on. So if you don't like this protective covering, then this case is definitely not for you. I've used the Surface Pro 3 version of this and the Pro 4 version, and it doesn't inhibit the touch screen or using the pen stylus or anything like that. So it shouldn't cause any problems, and it can keep the screen clean, but it adds another layer to get dirty, possibly add glare versus the screen on the Surface Pro 4. So you put in the kind of locking hinges on the bottom, and then snap it in on the top and around the sides. And then the case is on there, and then the last step is on the back. You kind of snap in the kickstand, and so there you have the Griffin Survivor. And again, I will show putting on the keyboard. The keyboard can snap on exactly as you would expect, and then the magnets work to hold the keyboard in the appropriate position. One of the problems with the previous Griffin case was that you couldn't use the magnets, so the keyboard wouldn't stand up. And then again, you can roll over the keyboard in the proper fashion to allow it to be used in a slate device fashion. So I will say I am planning on getting the Griffin Survivor for some of my existing Surface Pro 3 devices where I need cases for, because a lot of the Surface Pro 3 cases are going out of manufacturing, but Griffin is still making them, and they're kind of the best choice of that lot for the Surface Pro 3. So this is a little bit of addendum to the Griffin Survivor case that I wanted to go back to because I forgot to mention in the initial piece of it. So the Griffin case, almost like some OtterBox cases for phones and things, has covers over all the ports. I think this is a good idea in theory, but again, using it with students, I'm not sure this is a good idea in practice, because so you open this up and you have this thing hanging here, and you open this up and you have this one hanging there, and you open this one up and you have that one hanging there, and then you go over here and you have one hanging off there. I just don't know how long it's going to take for, you know, I mean, if I applied much pressure at all here, I'm pretty sure I'm going to just rip this off. So it's a neat idea, but I'm just not sure in kids' hands how long they're going to survive. You know, they might work great for a long time if the kids are careful with them, and it just gives you a little more protection from getting, you know, items, dust, maybe even a little bit of water from inside there. But I'm just not sure how long they're going to last long term, just due to their frailness. So I just wanted to make sure I added that to my Griffin review because I forgot to mention it in the initial portion. Thanks. The next case is made by Gumdrop, and I don't remember the exact model name, but they only have one Service Pro 4 case. This case is sturdy, I guess I'll say, and kind of on the heavy side. It has the same issue that I've worried about before, which is the very thin piece of the case right here that I worry it doesn't have much flex to it, so it would be fairly easy to crack, and then the case just disintegrates at that point. And this is my major concern with many of these cases, is this weak point here, and it's due to the design of the surface and the power cord that you have to do that. But if the case is made out of too rigid of a material, it will just crack, and then the case just disintegrates. So now this case has pen storage on the top, and I'll show that once I put the Surface Pro 4 in, and show you that it doesn't quite make sense to me. But so first let's install the surface, and just like most of the other cases, you just kind of slide it in the top and push it down, and it kind of snaps into place. Now this kickstand also has little hooks to hold the kickstand in place. So, the case is relatively easy to install. Now the question for me though is, what do you do with this pen? So the pen can go in this way, but then it sticks out the side, which seems to make no sense whatsoever. Or you can, and it's also very snug, I'm having to use a lot of force to get it in there. You can push it this way, but then it gets to this point where you begin to push up on the clip, and I'm worried that clip is going to, I honestly don't want to push it all the way in, because I'm worried it's going to break, and over time will it bend or break off. So this pen storage doesn't quite make sense to me, and it looks like maybe you can put a tether loop through there. I'm not sure. I've never, Gumdrop doesn't offer any pictures showing the pen installed on their website, so it's hard to know exactly what their plan was for this, but it just doesn't seem to make logical sense. And on top of that, it's very hard to fit, and it's just this big, bulky kind of, almost like an old cell phone antenna bulge on the top. Needless to say, this is not one of my favorite cases. It's got fairly good access to the USB and display port, but other than that, you also look around and you wonder about the vents. I mean, it has vent holes, but not all the way around, so who knows about heating. So that's the Gumdrop case. Definitely not one of my favorite cases. So next up is the Incipio Feather Hybrid, I think. They have an advanced and a hybrid, and I only got the one. I'll make sure I tag it correctly in the title for this video. This case is interesting. It is really light. In the weight table that I will have in the accompanying article, you can see how much it weighs, but it's quite amazing how light it is. But that kind of concerns me in how resilient it is. It has a little bit of flexibility here, so it might not crack as easily, but due to just how super thin it is, it's hard to believe that it's going to stand up very well. And I honestly don't have it in use in practice, so it might be better than I think, but I'm concerned. I think it's also one of the cheapest, or I won't say cheap, least expensive cases out there, but I don't know, we'll see. Another interesting thing is it comes, out of the box with this tether and little sleeve, I guess is the right word. So you can put the sleeve on your stylus here. So we'll slide that down there, and it seems like it has a fairly good rubber hold on there. Now the trick is you got to get it down far enough so you're past the Surface Pro 4 button, so you're not triggering the Surface Pro 4 button. Now let me install the actual Surface Pro 4, then we'll see how the case fits on there. So this one, it's really simple to snap in because it's so thin. I mean, this is, by far the thinnest, lightest, protective case. Maybe for an adult who's careful with it, this gives you enough protection to keep you from cracking your Surface screen without adding a lot of bulk and weight to it. But I guess I question, how well it's going to hold up in the hands of 10 to 14-year-old kids over the course of a few years. So it, like many of the other cases, has the little snaps that go on here. Now, there we go. Get some play in that, and closes there. Now I'm already seeing it has some weird kind of bulging going on and covering of the bottom there. So let's attach the keyboard to this and make sure it fits on appropriately. It looks like it does, and because the case is so small, you should easily be able to do the rollover. That works. And then because it's not covering the screen at all, there's no problem with the magnets. And then the last piece of the puzzle is it has this pen storage over here on the side, so we'll slide that down in, and it's pretty snug, but also it doesn't seem very secure. It just kind of slides in and out. So I guess it's good it has a tether because it doesn't take much pressure for it to just fall out. So the question is, will it go down far enough? Let me see if I can move that up and get that to fit in there. Yeah, but it's still sticking off the top and it falls off that easily. So, this case is definitely light, it's inexpensive, it's slim, so it has some definite benefits. So that's the Incipio case. It may be for some, but just not for my usage here. The next case is the Kensington Black Belt Second Degree. Their first degree was their Surface Pro 3 case, and so their second degree is their Surface Pro 4 case. This is actually the first demo case I got, and one of the Surface Pro 4 users here actually uses this case on a daily basis. It has some unique features that I think some people will really like. The drawback here is it is super rigid. It has a little bit of play here because if you want to use a docking connector, you need it to be wider. But again, this I'm really worried. Is this going to crack after prolonged use? So let me put the Surface Pro 4 in here real quick and show what I think is the unique feature on here that may really appeal to some people. So let me snap it in here real snugly. There we are, all in. So on the back, it has this nifty little handhold. So if you're using this in a tablet fashion, or if you're right-handed, as I actually am, you can hold it one-handed much easier and much more securely. So that's definitely a unique feature, and it's not as bulky as some of the one-handed hold cases that are made for either iPads or other surfaces. So if that feature interests you, this is definitely a good case. Let's flip out the kickstand here and attach the keyboard. So keyboard attaches just like you'd expect, works just normal. You're able to flip the keyboard over just like you should be able to. Now this one also has a pen storage over on the side, and this one seems to be placed more appropriately than some of the others in that it is very snug to go in, but it doesn't stick out either on the side or on the top. And you can pop it out this way, but it's pretty snug. It's not nearly as forgiving as some of the other ones. One of the other features that this particular case has is when you close it, it has a little strap to hold the keyboard shut. I'm not sure how long that keyboard holder will survive if it was in the hands of kids, but it's definitely a neat feature to keep your keyboard in place when you're carrying it with one hand or something like that. So this Kensington case is probably my second or third favorite, and depending on your usage, it could definitely be a positive qualities for you in using it. So that's the Kensington Black Belt case. The final case I'm going to talk about here, and in case you haven't noticed, I'm kind of going in alphabetical order rather than anything else, is the STM ducts case. Now, I will say I actually have used many of the STM ducts cases for the Service Pro 3, which had the issue of the cracking case, and which is why I'm looking for a new case. But this case is a total different design and is very similar to their Surface 3 design that came out over a year ago, or about a year ago, I guess. And they just kind of stretched it a little bit to make it fit the Surface Pro 4. This has one of the things that I don't particularly like about some cases, particularly the UAG case, which is it has a replacement kickstand. So it doesn't use the Microsoft design kickstand. Now, it's pretty good. It has, almost infinite positions like the Microsoft case. The hinges are pretty good. I have had one hinge crack on the Surface 3 cases that I have here with students, but that's much better than my Surface Pro 3 case survival rate. It's a little on the bulky side, but not too bad. So let's put the Surface Pro 4 in there, and we can see how it fits. So the case goes on relatively easily, and then you have their replacement kickstand, and then we can attach the keyboard. And again, since it's not covering the screen at all, the keyboard magnets work just as you would expect. You can close it, flip it over, and it rolls over the right way. Now the other thing, this does actually have pen storage as well, and also I'll show here. This is very flexible, so it's not going to crack. It's a little thicker here, but the case is solid all along this side because there's a back plane to it, so it's much less apt to crack than some of the other cases, because it has complete coverage on the back panel here because it doesn't use the Microsoft kickstand. So there's much more strength and rigidity to the back of this case, and much less ability to crack along these weak points of the side where the kickstand comes out. So this does have a pen storage. I guess, yeah, you can put it in this way. It's a little awkward to get it to fit in here, but it sits in there. Now, when it's in there, you'll notice it's not flush. So if you were to lay down the machine, it's then kind of poking out the back. So I do have a little concern of, if you push too hard on this, are you either going to break the pen or break the case, or both? So it's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. I've been working with tablets for 15 years, or excuse me, 10 years with students, and losing the stylus is one of the concerns, because they were $30, now they're $60 or $70 now with the Surface Pro. So any kind of storage is better than none, but it's just something to keep in mind. So the Dux case is kind of a traditional cell phone bumper case. It's definitely good in some respects, but not my favorite. I used them in the Surface Pro 3 days because they were what I thought was the best of the lot. And so there's the Surface Pro 4 from STM.